morning, everyone, on this gorgeous spring day. Are you aware that April 22nd is Earth Day? We're going to celebrate this world that we all share during our service today. We are using elements of the service from the UU Ministry for Earth for their service that they put together for Earth Day. Though they built a whole service, Scott worked on it and crafted it in a manner that it suits our congregation and the way that we prefer to worship. I'm Thina Berry, and I am your service coordinator today. Jenny is our Zoom host. Zoe is co-hosting, and Sandy is at GNUC this morning preparing another beautiful chalice display. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Paul Sprechter for the web of life. We light this chalice for the web of life which sustains us, for the sacred circle of life in which we have our being, for the earth, the sky, above and below, and for our Mother Earth, and for the mystery. There are any number of reasons that you may want to reach out to Reverend Cynthia. There are any number of ways to connect with her as well. Please feel free to reach out whenever you feel the need. The easiest way to contact Reverend Cynthia is via her cell phone at 859-221-3034. For general information, you also have the option of contacting our admin, Chris at gnuc@gnuc.org. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Her name is Chris, and her email address is gnuc@gnuc.org. She helps us all keep connected as well. In our church, we are bound together not by creed, but by a covenant between all of us. Last week, we moved the covenant to the end of the service as a way to send us out into the world. This Sunday, we moved it back to the beginning to remind us that no matter where you are from, what you look like, and no matter whom you love, we welcome all folks of goodwill to join in relationship with us, bound by our covenant to each other. Please join me in saying our covenant. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. We're starting things off today with Emma's Revolution this morning. Our house is on fire.
Put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire, our house is on fire. Put out the fire, put out the fire, put out the fire, our house is on fire. We love you, we hear you, we commit to change our ways, not later, but sooner, right now, for your future. Youth can't wait, put out the fire. Women can't wait, put out the fire. Blind can't wait, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For our children, put out the fire. And their children, put out the fire. And their children, put out the fire. Our house is on fire. For songbirds, for clean air, for the oceans and the lakes. Not later, but sooner, right now, for our future. Melting trees grow. Let the snow fall where it may. Not later, but sooner. Right now, for the future. Right now, for the future. Right now, we are here to put out the fire. This is how we put out the fire. Time is now, we put out the fire. Our house is on fire.
Anyone else want to go join that band? Because I'm going to pack my bags and go there. Learn how to play some instrument. I wonder if they'll take a cello. Anywho, Scott found a wonderful video about the history of Earth Day, which is unknown to me. Please enjoy today's Time for All Sages.
April 22nd is Earth Day. It is an opportunity for every person to cherish and protect our planet. In the late 1960s, scientists began to realize our environment was growing weaker and less healthy. Many of our great modern innovations like trains, cars, planes, and factories often create pollution and waste. Conservationists and environmentalist pioneers realized that if humans weren't more careful, the planet would get irreversibly damaged, and people would have a hard time living here. A senator from Wisconsin named Gaylord Nelson wanted to create a special day for us to acknowledge the state of our planet and work to keep it healthy. He proposed the first Earth Day in 1970. He chose April 22nd so that students could participate through their schools during a season good for outdoor activities. Senator Nelson asked the governors of all 50 states and the mayors of the largest U.S. cities to issue Earth Day proclamations to get people interested. And they were. Earth Day was a huge success. Senator Nelson's idea brought together more than 20 million people nationwide to support one cause, a healthy Earth. The next two Earth Days actually occurred only once a decade, on April 22nd, 1980 and 1990. But since 1990, Earth Day has been celebrated every year and worldwide, with more than 1 billion people planting trees, cleaning up trash, stopping pollution, and encouraging recycling and conservation. Things are looking up for the Earth. What do you and your community do to celebrate Earth Day?
For lesson plans, digital resources, and more teacher support materials, visit PBS Kids Learning.
Well, one of the ways that our community is celebrating Earth Day is through today's service. One way we can help our community is by supporting our April Share the Plate partner, Stop AAPI Hate Center. In response to the alarming escalation in xenophobia and bigotry resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, Chinese for Affirmative Action, CAA, the Asian American Studies Department of San Francisco State University, and others launched the Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center on March 19, 2020. The center tracks and responds to incidents of hate, violence, harassment, discrimination, shunning, and child bullying against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the United States. This organization was referenced by the UUA as a connection. The Stop AAP Hate five-pronged approach is to serve as the leading aggregator of anti-Asian hate incidents, to offer multilingual resources for impacted community members, to provide technical assistance from rapid response to preventative measures, to support community-based safety measures and restorative justice efforts, and to advocate for local, state, and national policies that reinforce human rights and civil rights protections. Please donate generously to the Stop AAPI Hate Center as our Share the Plate organization for April 2021, and any of the ways shown on the screen. Please watch this video to learn more about Stop AAPI Hate, and thank you for doing what you can.
Right. Well, in March of last year, we started Stop API Hate, because we started seeing media accounts, social media posts of COVID being racialized. And we started seeing the racist stereotypes and tropes that we knew would lead to Asian Americans, being targeted during this time. And so we started that last year, and to date, we just released our latest numbers yesterday. We received close to 3,800 incidents of individuals, everyday people reporting on our site what has happened to them, their elderly parents, their children. And what we've seen is that we have a significant proportion of our respondents were Asian women telling us about what they encountered, misogynistic, racist, sexist slurs as they were being accosted or followed and harassed. And so that's why it's deeply disturbing that law enforcement at this time is downplaying the fact that it could be racially motivated. And I think that's really irresponsible, especially at this early stage of the investigation. 6 out of the 8 victims were Asian women. And the fact remains that these 3 businesses that were targeted were Asian-owned businesses. And so it's really important, I think, to also recognize, based on our data in terms of who's vulnerable during this time, but that historically, the experiences of Asian women and women of color are in fact that both misogyny and racism are at play at all times. We live within those intersections. And this again is,
Reverend Florence Kaplow will provide our meditation today about our world around us and how we can connect with it. I ask that you please settle into your seat. Take a deep breath. Look out the window or a door if you have one close by, as Reverend Kaplow reminds us of the cycles of the earth.
In the ancient way of the earth, the great cycles come and go, winter and spring, living to dying, to living again. Winter trees awakening, insects coming out of their long sleep in last year's leaves, hawks courting on the wing, making wild love in the spring sky. Exuberant blooms reminding us that life comes back again and again from death and brokenness. In this time, at all times, may we remember, we are not the owners of this earth. We are not the stewards of this earth. For all our power to destroy, we are merely children, children of the great cycle, children of the ancient ways. May we find the humility to accept our true place, to lean down to the cold ground and kiss the soil, to lie on our backs in the green grass and let the earth hold us at last, as she has always held us, life after life, change after change. Earth made us who we are, bipedal mammals who speak and laugh, but also whose delusions of grandeur lead us to think that we matter more than we do. The earth is waiting for us to wake up. May the earth lead us back into right relationship with all her children, from centipedes to mountains. I call upon the earth herself to help heal us from our confusion and re-enter the sacred dance with outstretched hands.
This next song you may recognize from the movie Shrek, and yeah, it does have an association with that movie for me. But sing along to this tune and understand that it has new words celebrating the earth. Reverend Yadni Halu will share her Earth Sunday message. Reverend Yadni Halu, she, her, is an Ethiopian American Black woman based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the USA. She is a writer, a speaker, facilitator, and project manager. Her community ministry, Black Earth, is a love letter to the earth and Black people inviting all carbon life to return to rest and right relationship as its baseline. She believes life's first mandate is to flourish, and its second is to heal. This is the mission of BLK Earth, supports for persons who desire to curate a lifestyle of healing and to shape their relationships and community towards wholeness.
Today we have taken inspiration from Greta Thunberg, who is a young Swedish female autistic climate activist whose speech at the World Economic Forum in 2019 inspired the song by Emma's Revolution, Our House is on Fire. Here is an excerpt of Greta's speech. Our house is on fire. I'm here to say our house is on fire. We have to stop the emissions of greenhouse gases, and either we do that or we don't. You say that nothing in life is black or white, but that's a lie. A very dangerous lie. Because either we prevent 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming or we don't. Either we choose to go on as a civilization or we don't. That is as black or white as it gets. Greta is clear. She is practical. I respect it. Greta says we must shift nearly every aspect of society urgently to attempt survival as a species on this planet. But what is stopping us? As a minister that trusts and centers life, I ask what prevents reasonable and natural right action. This is the dilemma that we must resolve to address the core source of the environmental mess that colonization and really capitalism has whipped us into in just a matter of a couple centuries. We've been presented a cultural framework with binaries that failed. Like Greta says, and male and female are blood snippets of truth from a historical and scientific evidence that there is much more and is ever shaping and shifting. Day and night are short changes of the reality that dawn and dusk also exist. Yet Greta says there are some black and white truths. She says either we choose to go on as a civilization or we don't. Well, today, I present to you my black and white truth. This duality is at the core of not just the human experience, but what I often call the carbon experience. The network of life we belong to and cycle through. Like bees, part of a colony, our bodies are part of a larger organism, an organized system. Here it is. Either we center life or we're glitching. Here's the science behind it. The autonomic nervous system in vertebrates is the part of the nervous system that controls and regulates the internal organs without any conscious recognition or effort by the organism. The autonomic nervous system comprises of two antagonistic sets of nerves, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. The parasympathetic nervous system is the baseline state of life. This is the state of rest, ease, when the immune system is active, when digestion is processed and healing happens. The sympathetic nervous system is the need-based mode for survival. You've probably heard of it as fight, flight, freeze, and collapse. And it's when most of the organism's energy is targeted to survive. I call it a lunge for life. And frankly, it makes me pontificate. The poetry of organisms that are pre-programmed for life, preservation, and protection. And how it could have gone so wrong. Well, unlike wild plants and animals, humans have an uncanny ability to disrupt the completion of the sympathetic nervous system. And basically, we glitch. We get stuck in the sympathetic system as trauma isn't allowed to process and return to the parasympathetic. That energy becomes traffic jammed in our bodies, throwing off our reasoning, our processing, our perspective, our physiological regulating abilities. In short, rest and survival are the two systems that construct and sustain life. And so either we are centering life or we're glitching. If we desire to sustain life, if we desire to save our chance at inhabiting this planet, to defend all human black bodies, indigenous bodies, people of color, disabled, queer, women, trans bodies, if we desire justice and equity in our social order, we must restore these two systems in our bodies and in our cultures. Because our culture glamorizes hustle and busy and avoids rest. We believe excess isn't enough, and there isn't enough for everyone. We think that hoarding wealth and resources is just the name of the game instead of ecosystem sabotage. We glorify monocrops and the erasure of biodiversity and nutrient density with our manicured, inedible monocrop lawns, with our gender preference for males and patriarchy, or the race glorification with white supremacy, or a bias for abled bodies and culturally attractive bodies with ableism and body shaming and fat phobia, and again and again and again, I can name the social effects of our house on fire, of trauma unaddressed, of nervous systems glitching in survival mode. Today and onwards, let us be clear in curating pathways to healing repressed energy. Because what we are doing outside of our bodies, we are also complicit within them. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm saying hurt bodies. That the repressed grief, anger, fear, shame, emotions, that energy in our bodies, just like those of our ancestors, will shape a world of repression, grief, anger, fear, shame, leading to inflammation and festering. We fuel a pressure cooker that, as the laws of physics demand, will be released one of two ways. One, by relief valve with intentionality and regulated and sustaining life. Or two, by force. It will burst out. This pressure cooker of repression inside ourselves mirrors what we have turned our atmosphere into, stuffed with greenhouse gases, heating us all up. It is outside as it is maintained inside. Our house is on fire, y'all, and the source is us. The diagnosis is clear. Hurt bodies, and our relationship to life as Homo sapiens still easily can skew towards self-sabotage. So we must build a lifestyle of healing, constantly bolstering our resilience and addressing emotions as they present themselves. This is our call. Leah Morris gave us the equation in their song titled Spring Thing, and in the chorus, Leah sings beautifully, "Wake up from your slumber, try to remember a time when we all were together as one. A new day has come, tell me you feel the sun. Wipe away teardrops, springtime has come. I'm wide awake now." Let us explore this chorus to identify our pathways to healing. First, Leah implores us to wake up from our slumber, just like Greta urges and Emma's Revolution sings. Our house is on fire. But how is the question? Well, each of these guided invitations that follow are experiences, and I'll break them down. Please make note in your body how you feel and what comes up. Make note what pings true in your bones and what your body asks for to continue healing. First, Leah invites us to try to remember a time when we all were together as one. Y'all, I want to start with the basis that the earth is not exotic, it's not foreign. The earth isn't even really outside or other from ourselves. It isn't a gift to us or something we must rile up abstract empathy for as a separate object. We are the Black Earth itself. This is the roots of my community ministry for and by Black millennials and Gen Zers, to describe and support an ecosystem of spiritual wellness and to center life. Though we are not only our bodies unite us with all carbon in a shared experience of returning to healing and wholeness, with other human bodies, animal bodies, plants and soil bodies. And if at the core of your cosmology, you lack clarity of our oneness in a real and tangible way, let me read you this excerpt from a book I've recently read. Once upon a time, there was a universe. We're not sure about how it started or whether there is a reason, but we are pretty sure that during the first sliver of a trillionth of a second, it expanded very rapidly, so that for the most part, it looked the same in every direction and looked the same from every position. It was sameness everywhere, except that particles started to blip out of nothing due to random fluctuations caused by quantum effects. Maybe in space-time, we're still not sure about that. Then again, we're not super sure about this either, but for some reason, those particles formed more matter than antimatter. That process started to form structures, and from those structures, stars formed. Then the stars got old. Some of them died in super epic, rather fabulous fashion, and they exploded into supernova, making heavy elements like carbon and oxygen in the process. Those elements went on to be the basis for all life on Earth. Neil deGrasse Tyson quite beautifully says, "We are stardust brought to life by the universe so that the universe can figure itself out." Try and remember a time when we all were together as one, and do this often, my loves. Leah goes on, "A new day has come." Octavia Butler has rooted the ultimate truth of change throughout her Parable of the Sower series, where protagonist Lauren Olamina observes and explains a theology resilient and relevant in a chaotic and tragedy-filled society. Let's meditate on it. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. When you feel stiff-necked, when your mind is narrowed and limited in possibilities, when you are stuck in survival and need to disrupt the pattern of pain, remember, the lasting truth is change. We consciously and unconsciously shape change, and change consciously and unconsciously shapes us. Whether for the better or worse, change is promised in the forecast. A new day comes. So now, what can we do with it? When Leah sings, "Tell me you feel the sun," I hear them asking us to remember in the midst of change, in our bodies, the shared blessing of pleasure. That ease and rest, the liminal space where we heal and restore our souls. So let me tell you a memory I revisit often to tap my body into ease and the parasympathetic. A few years ago, I visited friends in Trinidad, and one day we were hiking and searching out waterfalls in a lush, dense, and vibrant forest. I left my shoes in the car, and walking barefoot in a jungle brought me more present, humble. We climbed over trees and crawled under branches. We walked alongside and in the river, sometimes laughing, sometimes silent. When we got to the waterfall, I gazed at the top hundreds of feet above us. I swam out and sat under the falls, and hundreds of gallons of water shook my body and cleared my mind. I slipped back into the pool, crafted by nature, filled with the crashing water, and followed my body's instinct to float on my back. In moments that felt like forever, with my ears under the water, I could hear the waterfall churning, my heart beating, engulfed in life, vibrant and pounding, and I felt ecstatically connected. My eyes looked up at the tree canopy with slivers of sunlight dancing through. I felt in that moment I was in a familiar dream. I was not my body. I couldn't feel where I ended and the water, the wind, the sky, the trees began. It was connection, peace, and fullness. So much I didn't notice warm salt water leave my eyes and join the overflow all around me. Beloveds, to one another and most importantly to your body, tell them when and how you feel the sun. Revisit it. Draw from this embodied well that needn't run dry. Next, Leah reminds us to wipe away teardrops. I hear in the harmony and lyrics the imperative to process our trauma. I'm not asking if you've exposed your nervous system to tragedy porn regularly, or if you slump under the weight of existential terror and anxiety with your friends. I'm not asking us to attempt centering life via shame or fear. When I ask, have you wiped your tears? I'm asking, have you explored self-sabotage trauma responses in you? It may very well be overwhelm or shame or terror. Have you sat with love and curiosity for your frenzy? Have you listened to the anxiety behind your desperation to flee? Have you ritualized and strengthened with practice your tolerance and skills for managing discomfort, even though you've learned to deny and avoid conflict like a pro? Have you sat with your anger until it revealed fear or sadness? Then, have you stayed as your body, your carbon-made, life pre-programmed body, witnessed as it processed the obstacles to wholeness and digested stuck and festering emotions? Have you gathered the wisdom from your bones and made an altar for them? Have you been with the pain human society has feared facing for centuries and survived, returning with the sureness that life returns to life? Woe ya ya. Have you wiped teardrops, beloved? If not, make haste in building a lifestyle of healing so you can install a pressure valve in your body, not only for this accumulated and the upcoming traumas that you will experience in your life, but also for all that is stored and eager for release from your ancestors who forgot or were obstructed from the way to healing. This is our teleological imperative, first to flourish, and second to heal any obstacle to flourishing. Finally, Leah sings, "Springtime has come, I'm wide awake now." In short, rinse and repeat. This is a lifestyle of remembering and returning, of processing and acknowledging. It is the motion from rest to survival and back again that we access the fullness of our life force energy. We are awake and able to put out the fire. So remember our oneness and the inevitability of change. Soak your body regularly in organic and earnest pleasure and rest. Make spiritual the lifestyle of healing. Then repeat, beloveds. Each one of us has the power to shape change and widen the pathways for healing for all life. May you remember you are beloved, and go forth and be love. May it be so.
What a wonderful message. I'm so thankful that the UU Ministry of Earth offered us the chance to hear from
Today we have
someone we may not have known of before. Before I go on, I want to tell you guys about this book that I've been reading. It's called The Sum of Us All. And it talks about the cost of racism on everyone. And I bring it up because a lot of the things that she talked about in that, about trauma and how it impacts everyone around us. And I thought, this may help us center on or put our finger on what it is, that trauma, so that we can start clearing it out. Our next hymn will be familiar to some of you. The video is a beautiful instrumental trumpet arrangement of Earth Was Given as a Garden. We've included the words and screens so you can sing along if you are so moved.